Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you, and welcome to Muslim Mindset, a podcast dedicated to bringing you research, science, and human experiences with a Muslim perspective to inspire you to live purposefully, productively, and prioritize your mental health and well being. My name is Aisha Aziz. I'm very excited to welcome Hera Sheikh to our show today. Hera is the founder of Enrobe. Enrobe is a new modest fashion brand that has recently launched in the summer of 2024. Based out of the Greater Toronto Area in Canada, Enrobe has already started gaining attention for its premium quality fabrics that they offer at affordable prices. Part of her collection includes a 100% linen dress that we all know is very much needed in the hot summer months. In a short time, Enrobe has worked with established brands such as Wall Chic and Zudo. Join me today with its founder to learn more about how she launched Enrobe, how she was able to do so while having 2 young children, and what she learned throughout the process. Assalamu alaikum, Hera. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of Muslim Mindset. I'm very excited to have you on our show today.
Walaikum salam. I'm equally as excited. Thank you for having me.
To kick things off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what inspired you to take the leap into the world of modest fashion? I know you have multiple degrees that are unrelated to business, so what was the driving force behind starting your own business?
That's a very good question. I started my journey, very recently. So this past February is when I just stepped foot in really taking action in getting into the fashion industry. Prior to that, I've worked as a teacher. I've worked within the corporate world in multiple capacities. So I've been a consultant, I've been an analyst, an advisor, and I've worked as a manager as well. And currently, I'm on maternity leave, which gave me a little bit of that time break to be able to think about where I am in my life and what I would like my life to look like going forward. So I took that opportunity to think and to reflect. And when I was, first getting to know my husband, which was probably about, I don't know, 9 or 10 years ago now, I'm really dating myself. But I remember I was doing my master's degree and we were getting to know each other. And he asked me, if money was not an object and that's not something you had to worry about at all, what would you want to do with your life? And I remember thinking, okay, like this is anything at all. And so off the top of my mind, I was like, you know what I would really, really enjoy is having my own like clothing brand that has quality and it has like beautiful timeless designs. And I remember at the time I would really admire Anna Hariri because Anna Hariri came about around that time, or that's when I had discovered it. And I remember sending my husband, who I was getting to know at the time, I sent him a link. And I was like, look at these dresses and the designs and the quality and the stitch. It looks so beautiful. There needs to be more of this because I'm shopping at all these other stores that don't cater to my style or like the level of coverage that I would like or require. And I remember him being like, "Oh, that's a really great idea." And then, of course, a lot of my wedding presents were dresses from Anna Hariri at the time. So the seed was kind of planted and it was there. As a child, I had a creative sketchbook in which I would have elaborate designs of dresses, jewelry, and if you ever seen traditional Pakistani attire, the really detailed borders of the buttas that like women wear around their neck or around their heads or as brides wear around their heads. So like the creativity aspect was always there. It just never felt like something that I can take and actually do something about. Like it just felt so inaccessible. And then I remember like with all of the, since October of 2023, with a lot of like the political events that were taking place, just really feeling frustrated and feeling like helpless in a way. And that's not a space that I like to be in, or Like, I don't believe in the mindset of, life is just happening to us and we don't have agency and we don't have control. Like, we are, to an extent, active participants in our life, and we can use that within our communities, use our talents to help our communities, provide options, like be a source of hope and change in whatever capacity that may be. So I remember like the gears were turning and I was like, I really want to do something. I want to provide options that are BDS friendly, but I just don't have the know-how. Fast track to January of 2024, my cousins held a get together and we were doing, your New Year goals. So we put it all in a paper, we write down our goals and we put it in a hat, and everybody else pulls out one, and whichever one they get, they have to guess whose goal this is. And I remember mine at the time, like what I wrote down was, I want to read more thought provoking books. And as everyone was picking out their like the slips, and I was like, oh no, no, like even more than that, what I want to do is I want to start my own business. And I want to have something that I lead. And in the back of my mind, I was like, I would really like to do modest fashion. And so everybody pulled out their pieces. And mine was definitely like at the time, it was like, oh, Hira would like to read more thought provoking books. Thought provoking and books is so Hira. That's Hira. Everybody got it. And I was like, but more than that, guys, let me also just say, I'm realizing that even bigger than that, my goal is I want to start something of my own, and I'd like to have my own brand, and ideally clothing brand. And I remember one of my cousins pointing out, here, that market is really saturated. Like, it would be so difficult. And I was like, no, but my ideas are different, and what I want from this brand is so different. And I wanted to start something that I can lead what comes out of it. So, like, I wanted a brand that is a source of good and can branch out to other areas and do good in those. So like for Enrobe, what I ended up doing is I'm partnering with Nisa Foundation, and we're donating a portion of our proceeds to them to help other women and children, in their times of need, and hopefully it contributing to other women feeling empowered and doing something like I would like to do with myself. So providing other women with those options going forward as well. Of course, at this point in time, we are like in the phases of growing and our contributions are not as big as we want them to be, but the goal is definitely there. So that's sort of the background on how the build up to Enrobe was. And then with the whole idea of I really wanted to start my own business being in the back of my mind, but really not having any idea on where to start, and like where I can find the resources that I need to be able to start my own business and like how to grow it. Like I would completely no business background at all. I came across a free masterclass that Marwa was running, and she's the founder of Wall Chic, and she's been in that space for about 10 years. And so most of us have heard of Wall Chic, and we know that it is a really nice and established brand. But having the opportunity to hear her speak on entrepreneurship, and she was going to start a course after that masterclass on helping women become entrepreneurs and making entrepreneurship more accessible. And I thought it was the perfect time for me, and because it was already in the back of my mind and the masterclass itself was really helpful, I wanted to enroll in that course and have her as a mentor that I could work with. And it really did work out really nicely. I remember after attending her masterclass, the course was going to start in about 3 weeks. And in those 3 weeks, I started doing some research into manufacturers, how I can get my clothing made. I started working on some designs. I worked on creating social media platforms because I wasn't on social media. So I created social media and I started posting a bit on my personal account to get feedback and ask folks on, what their modest fashion needs are that currently aren't being met in the modest fashion space. So I started working on that. I started getting some feedback, and then I found some manufacturers that I narrowed down that I wanted to work with, and I started ordering samples of my designs. And in this time, I started my course. I started understanding, what's the best way to launch my business, and how to utilize my social media to be able to attract customers and all of that. But I would say that course was probably the push to help. Like, it really helped me start. And if it wasn't really for that course, I would not feel confident enough to take the first steps because I just had no background. But I mean, Marwa was fantastic, and she's a really great mentor. And it really helped to know that she herself did not have a business background. She didn't have a family business background either, so there was really nobody else to help guide her. And her having gone through the steps, she was really generous with sharing her knowledge, and that was really, really helpful for me in taking that leap. And even now, I do reach out to her for any questions and things that I have. So it is an ongoing support system that I really appreciate having.
I think that's a really good takeaway because there's so many businesses that don't even come to fruition. We don't even know about them because they're still stuck in
Yeah.
people's minds.
Yeah.
And because, as you said, taking that first leap, it is difficult. So would you say that having a mentor was key to you taking that first step?
Definitely having a mentor was really, really important. There is a fear of starting and what to do. And then there's often a lack of trust in your own ability. I remember like really thinking to myself that, right now is not the right time. I have a new mother. I have two children. I'm not good at everything. I don't have social media. I was very actively trying to stay away from social media. I had banned myself from places like Instagram and TikTok because I found that they were, again, like time vacuums. So it was from through the course, like when I talked to Marwa, it was her really pushing down the idea, and I really believe in it, is there is never a perfect time. And don't try to achieve perfection before you take any steps. When you are launching a business, or when you're trying to come up with a product, understand that it's not going to be perfect. But if you don't even do it, how are you going to learn? If there is such a thing, comes over time. It comes with experience. It comes from having learned from mistakes. And if you're going to be too scared to even make those mistakes, then how are you going to achieve the end result that you really, really want?
I find it so interesting that during maternity leaves, we often hear about women starting their own businesses at a time when you basically have no time. Another human being requires you pretty much 24/7. We often hear of women starting their own businesses. Then you mentioned you started it then, Marwa started it then, I also started my own business then. So what do you think it is about maternity leave that pushes women to take that first leap?
That is a really good question. Life is so much busier. There is so much more to do, and my time has so much more value. And I think that's a huge part of it. Understanding that your time is very, very valuable, that you're replaceable everywhere else, including your workspace, but you're not replaceable as a parent. So for me, it was a time for me to reconsider where I want to be spending my time, how available I want to be for my children, and what do my goals look like in the next few years? What do I want my life to look like? And a huge part of that is I wanted flexibility for the sake of being present for my children. That being really, really huge. And I think like when you have children, you're also looking at life from the perspective of a newborn child and the ambitions that you hope that your child aspires for. And, for me, a thought process was, do I want my child to spend their life and their time, you know, for another company, another business, and achieve the goals of someone else? Or would I really love it if my child had their own ideas and brought those to fruition and led something that was good, that was meaningful to them? And I think that aspect of it was really important for me too. When I wanted to start Enrobe, a huge aspect of it was having flexibility, having time, but also offering options that are BDS friendly with everything that's been going on in the world, and also being a source of good within the community that I am part of. Right. So giving back to the community, we are partnering with NISA Foundation to donate a portion of our proceeds to them. I have agency with the brand that I begin and what I get from it and where I take it and the good that comes from it. That's really motivating. And all of that can come back to also being an example or leading by example for what I would hope that my children would also have the courage to undertake at some point in their lives.
I love that because I'm not sure if you remember. Do you remember in 2019, Banana Republic came out with their own hijabs? And in the pictures of models, the models were wearing hijab. And there was one where, I mean, I vividly remember like she was wearing a dress and it had a slit on the side. And they wouldn't like, she wasn't even wearing tights or anything. So it's like part of her leg was exposed while she was wearing hijab. And it's like these companies, they know that there is an industry. It's actually something like $300 billion. Like as of right, like 2024, 2023, I can't remember which year it was that I read it, but the modest fashion industry is worth $300 billion. And so obviously these big giants, they know that. And so they put in this extremely low effort,
Yeah.
right, into coming up with hijabs. Okay, let's entice more, like more,
Pilots.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it's like one conversation with a
Yeah.
Muslim, probably would have been like, okay, let's cover up those legs with like tights or something, But
Yeah.
just the fact that they launched something for the modest fashion consumers and the bare minimum,
Yeah.
of like, okay, what do they actually need to cover was
Yeah.
not addressed. And so I love that women like you are now taking charge and they're like, let me have the agency.
When
Like I am the consumer. Let me bring the amazing quality fabrics. Let me bring beautiful designs because the passion is there, right?
Yeah. And take back your narrative, right? Like, why are we allowing brands that don't care about our communities, are not giving back to the causes that we believe in, don't embody the values that we as a community embody? Why are we letting them take away, our own narratives? Like that's something that really needs to change, and it is happening, right? Over time, you're seeing more and more Muslim businesses come up that are replacing brands. There are options that are becoming available that are going to be replacing brands that we don't believe in the essence of what they represent or whatever is going on behind the scenes, unethical practices, the kind of messaging that they put out. I mean, there's a lot to be said there, which can be a topic in and of its own. But take back your narrative. I'm a strong believer in, you are an active participant in your life. You're an active participant in your communities. Life doesn't happen to you. You are a part of it. You can influence it, um, and take action. Like taking action is the biggest, I think, takeaway from everything. Don't be passive.
On the note of taking action, I want to ask you about how you balance what we're witnessing worldwide, the oppression going on in Palestine, in Sudan with the Uyghurs. There's so much going on, so much hardship, difficulty that we are witnessing in real time on our phones. How do you balance being aware of the situation so that you can take action, but not to the extent that it can paralyze you? Because, if the news paralyzes us, we can become just as ineffective and unhelpful as those who don't know what's happening at all.
Right. And that's a really good question, and it's very relevant. There are times when, say, I'm trying to, create content for social media, or I'm putting up, images or a promotion. What my reality looks like every single day is that is at the back of my mind, that we are living in such a privileged state and there are people in the world who are going through like completely horrific circumstances. But the way that I think I'm navigating that is to be able to provide options that don't feel, you know, the companies and corporations that benefit from whatever is going on, which is why it is so important that we have Muslim businesses that provide alternatives that do not benefit from unethical genocide completely. Like that's what it is. So to have Muslim businesses that support our community, that give back to our communities, that are not going to have any part in what is going on in the world currently, and to be able to attain financial freedom for ourselves. It is so important that we as Muslims in different parts of the world, wherever we are, we have our own financial freedom, and are not working under these corporations that may be very, very unethical, because we feel like we have no other option but to be working for them and making a living.
Because of what's happening, it kind of makes you realize what you're willing to put up with, where you're willing to have your money go towards. And
Yeah.
because of that, it pushes you to start, your own businesses so that we can have these alternatives. So
Yeah.
I think that's so inspirational, and that's definitely something that we can take away from all of this, is actually questioning yourself. This time around, it's been different, like it's been different in the way that we have been boycotting. It's been different, and you can see it in their sales this time around too.
We have a
So
lot of power that we don't recognize. We know sometimes, I think the tactic that's usually used to help buy these brands is you're only one person, and we're still so big and great that like your one person not deciding to not purchase from us is not going to make any difference. But I think you came across at some point in time after this whole Starbucks boycott situation happened that they were calling for a hijabi model for one of their commercials. So clearly, it does impact their business, and we have value in our numbers. If we do decide that we are one and we're going to take an active approach, it does impact them. I think in multiple different regions, there's been talks, or it has happened, where multiple franchises have closed down or are going to be closing down because they've lost so much business. You will find that when we do come together, there is a lot of strength in our numbers and our purchasing power.
And I think with more Muslims starting their own businesses, because as you mentioned earlier, that when you saw Marwa and that she started it without having that background in business, that kind of gave you a push to start. And you mentioned was it Anna Hariri?
Anna Hariri, yeah.
Yeah, and her beautiful dresses, that seeing women that look like you, that also wear hijab, that are mothers, seeing people that look like you doing something is.
And I think one point that I don't think I've discussed within our podcast so far, is that when you do act, so there's people who are very inspiring that you look towards and you get motivated and inspired that you want to take similar steps, or you want to start something of your own, but you're inspired by the courage that they've had. But one thing really fascinating for me that has shown up is the amount of people that are around you that you wouldn't even know that are rooting for you, that are cheering you on. When I first brought up this idea, the first person obviously that I would discuss it with is the person that's closest to me, and it was my husband. And he was like, not even an ounce of like, are you sure? He was like, go for it. Like, I think you need to take the steps, do whatever you can, start the course, and start taking the steps to get to where you want to get to. As I started taking some more steps, I started discussing it with a few other people, not knowing, like, so when I'm ordering my samples, I don't know how I'm going to photograph them, how I'm going to build this website, because I don't have any of this experience. Sitting in a gathering of some of my family and my friends and discussing, like, this is what I'm trying to work on. And I had one of my cousins tell me, hey, I'm great with Shopify. Like, I've set up a store before, so if you ever need any help, I can help you out and I can like set it up for you. Another cousin telling me, hey, this is a great way to run ads, and these are some of the strategies you need to look at. another cousin saying, hey, you know what? I'll make social media content for you, or I'll help you with if you need a model. So a lot of, I had a cousin actually reach out to me online saying, hey, I just saw that you posted this one picture that you thinking of, or you're going to be launching something, and I want to help in whatever way I can. So if you want me to model for you, if you want me to do anything for you, like definitely I'm here for you. Like just the amount of people who just are so ready and so willing to see you win. And it is so eye opening and it is so heartwarming. Even the photography, I remember being like, oh, photography is going to be so expensive. And like, fine, alhamdulillah, like I've had people reach out to me who are interested in, modeling for the brand. But just photography, and like, how am I going to get about doing that? And it's so expensive. And like the whole, like, I'm an entrepreneur with a very limited budget. And I had basically family reach out to me saying, don't worry about it. We're going to take care of that aspect for you. That's like, it's just huge. Like the biggest worries that I had people come to me, or I asked them for some kind of help, and they said, don't worry, we're going to take care of this for you because we want to see you win. I think we just need so much more of that within our community. When you see a woman or a person coming up and wanting to make something of themselves or a business, the amount of support that I've received, I wish that on everyone. I hope to see that for all of the Muslim businesses that come about. I had other fellow entrepreneurs who were really supportive, who gave me a lot of insight, and I learned a lot from them outside of just that course as well. So alhamdulillah, we have a lot of really, really amazing people around us that want to see us win. We just need to be taking that first step. And then, believing in your abilities is one thing, but also understanding you don't have to be perfect at everything. You don't even have to be good at everything. You just need to know where to look when you need help. Being resourceful. It's never a one person show. You're always going to need help. You are not completely self sufficient. And those people are there. You just have to ask, you have to reach out, you have to put something out there, and don't wait for the perfect time.
And what I heard you say that I think oftentimes we might not realize is that you don't need to have every part of your business completely figured out in order to launch. Like you mentioned, starting the website and all of this, it's like you don't have to have all of that figured out. Once you get the question, like once it comes about, then you can figure out how to get there through the resources that you have and through asking questions. For so many people, you have this great idea, but because of all of the steps involved, that might stop someone from even starting, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like you don't need to have that full puzzle all there.
I think there is a really, really popular saying, right? Action takers are money makers. And perfection is the enemy of good. Perfection is the enemy of profit. Like perfection is probably like the worst thing for you at this point in time. And taking action helps so much. I know more about what I want my brand to look like today than I did a month ago, than 2 months ago. And that's what matters. When I take action, I learn from that action. And then if that's working, I'm going to be doing more of it. And if it's not working, I'm going to pivot, right? I'm going to try other strategies. Any failure, and failure is guaranteed, any failure is a learning opportunity on how to remaneuver and how to redirect yourself. It's just a pointer on, hey, this way is not working. You need to try something else. But there is always another way. So no failure is permanent. I think a lot of entrepreneurship is resilience, knowing that you need to pick yourself up. And that's something definitely that I've had to do. There's points where I'm like, man, like I thought I had it figured out, but clearly I don't. And then I'll take some time to reevaluate, to do some more research, to do some more reading, to talk to some more people, and then come back and say, here, and now I have a new strategy, and let's give it a go and let's see how it works.
Even when you look at business statistics, a lot of businesses, they fail within the first 5 years. And then less than half of businesses actually survive beyond the 5-year mark. But once you get to the 5-year mark, you see a real big improvement in the number of businesses that succeed.
Right.
So, what that tells me is if you just stick it out for those 5 years, you are going to learn so many lessons, so
Yeah.
many new things would not have that you would not be able to unless you keep going at it. And once you get beyond that 5 year mark, because of
Yeah.
all of those lessons that you've learned, you're just that much more likely to succeed.
Definitely. And I think in those 5 years, it's not just a waiting game, right? It's an active, like you have to be active and you have to take all the steps and learn from all of your mistakes. Like 1 year ago today, I think is probably when this whole seed was planted on I want to do something and it needs to be soon. But if you were to tell me 1 year ago today that I would be at the stage of my business that I am at right now, and the fact that I would even have my own business up and running, that I would have the collaborations and be able to work with the people that I have already worked with, to have social media that actually exists, like all of that, like it would have blown my mind. Like I'd be like, yeah, you're funny. Like that's interesting that you have all these ideas about me in the future. But subhanAllah, like I took steps and there were so many times that I had to really push myself beyond what I think is like that's not a reasonable expectation of myself or an ask. There were so many times that I just put myself out there and I felt a little vulnerable. But the fact that when I did, I had responses that I didn't think I would. One example of that is, because I was working with Marwa during the mentorship program, I was like, Volshvik is a really nice, like, it's a really good brand and all of that. And, hopefully one day I aspire to reach that level of quality and that excellence. But here I am, working on some of my samples and figuring out who I'm going to photograph with and all of that. And in that, I remember in that point of time, I was talking to Marwa, asking her some questions, and was saying, one day when Enrobe is at your standard, like is at the level of what Volshik is at, we should do a collaboration shoot. Like we should do something together when I reach the level that the level of excellence that your brand is already at. And, the fact that she told me that I think we can do that sooner rather than later. Had I not put it out there,
And I
I
think
would
it's
have
already happened, right?
Alhamdulillah, it has, yes. So we did.
Yes.
Like we were able to collaborate with Volshik. We were able to collaborate with a lot of people during that shoot as well that I've always looked up to. I've already worked with so many people that I've always been admiring from afar. And the fact that they've been able to share my brand and my values and my mission already, and it's subhanAllah, like it does blow my mind that just the courage of being able to reach out to those people and ask those people. And a lot of the times we don't do that for fear of rejection, right? We think, I'm going to put it out there and they're going to be like, why would I ever want to work with you?
Mm.
Or like, your product is like silly, or like it just doesn't live up to my expectations of a brand that I would like to work with. But like the just working up that courage to ask people to talk about it. And I think it's not something that comes naturally to me at all. Like I sometimes have to feel like I have to really push myself to put it out there, to talk to people and tell them what my product is and why I believe in it. It's not my natural state, but building up that courage to talk to other people that you look up to, and when they decide that, they actually want to work with you, is really heartwarming. It's really nice. The wins are worth the stress and the pressure that you go through of thinking about, like, should I reach out to them? Should I talk to them? What am I going to say? What if they say no? But what if they say yes?
So I want to ask you something. How did you get your first 10 customers?
So the first 10 customers, subhanAllah, like, I thought that getting my first sale would be really, really difficult. And my first 10 customers came out of my Instagram. And I was making videos on my phone. Like I am a very camera shy person. I don't like to put myself out there, and you can probably tell if you see any of my videos that there's a bit of like they're very short snippets. I don't really like to put myself out there too much. But I was making videos with the phone covering my face, just showing some of my dresses that are going to be coming. So I was actually making a lookbook for some of the influencers that I wanted to work with. And in that process, I made a few short clips of each dress. And I decided, you know what, these clips are not perfect, and these dresses, like, everything doesn't look so nice and clean and pristine, and this is not the quality that I aspire to for my brand to be. But let me just post it for now. Like, I can always take it down later. Like, it's there's not that much at stake other than me feeling embarrassed. So I put the video out, and it actually got like a lot of like good feedback. Like, I was sharing it on different platforms, and people were reaching out to me telling me that, hey, I see that, you're coming out with linen, and that doesn't really exist too much in the modest wear space. There's very few brands who are doing that, or even the stitch and the style that I was coming out with. So a lot of folks were reaching out to me telling me they really like some of the designs. Our shoot was planned for a lot later, and so Eid was coming up, and people started messaging me telling me that they'd like to purchase some of my dresses if I like have them available within my like, and so they can come and they can take a look and buy it before my website actually launches. And that wasn't in the plan. Like, my plan was, I'm going to do the shoot, I'm going to put up a website, and people will eventually be purchasing from the website. But because subhanAllah, from putting out that video and like just being courageous and not being too worried about being embarrassed, I put it out there. I had people reach out to me and then come, and I think my first customer was before Eid, like before Eid. The first customer came, and then I had a few other people reach out. I'm like, you know what? If I open the house up to one person, all the other people who've been asking me, like, let me open it up to them as well. So I've made my first 10 sales before even officially launching the brand. Mashallah, like, it was not something I expected, but alhamdulillah, like, it gave me the courage more to go forward, to really believe in what my brand has to offer, and that there is a demand for the product that I'm offering as well.
I ask about the first 10 customers because I think when you get the customers right away, as you did, like once they saw the product, they were like, yes, we like this. I think it's a really good indication on whether it's going to work or not. If you see that, if you had, let's say, put up that story and not garnered a lot of interest,
Yeah.
I think that would have been a learning opportunity for you as well, right? Because then
Right.
it would have been like, oh, you know what? Like, I'm not getting that much interest in these dresses. So what can I
Yeah.
do better? And so
Yeah.
I think those first 10 customers are very important because
They are.
it tells you whether it's going to work or not.
Yeah. And I still remember that first customer, right? When she came, and when she tried on the dress, and she loved it. And I was like, it was so, like, I was so nervous because I'm like, what is she gonna think of it? Like, it's my design, it's like my little baby, and now I'm finally putting it out into the world. She really, really liked it. And then I felt more confident. So I started posting about it more because of like, receiving that feedback. Another thing that I think that I've learned is that you can never tell how something is going to be received until you actually do put it out. Like, I can imagine or like think all I want that if I put this out, this is what the reaction is going to be like. You don't know that. You don't actually know that until you put it out. And then in terms of like something I would do differently is start like, because if I have one product and I want to test that out, I would just start with one product, test it out, see if people like it, and then do more of that or something similar, and understand people's needs, get feedback, right? On let's say sizing or like how people are liking the design itself, how people are liking the fabrics. Get feedback and then learn from that and do more of that. I did have a larger collection launch that happened, but alhamdulillah, like, the designs are nice, and then there people do like them and appreciate them. But if I were to do it over again, I would start small. I would start with something a lot less to give people more of what they like.
I feel like I see you thinking of a very concrete example that's coming to your mind as you're saying that.
So of course, I think the idea that um 80% of your profits and sales come from 20% of your products. And like, I know for sure, like, my bestseller, the winner, is the linen dress, right? And if I knew that, I would have, number one, gotten a lot more of them. And like, I would have worked, like, had a more variety of sizing options. Just because that dress does so well, mashallah, like, people like love it. And I've had people come over to come try a different dress that they've liked online, But when they put on that dress, they fall in love with the way that looks on them and the way the material is. So I think like the rest of the collection is very beautiful and it's very nice, and some of it will cater to different body types because not everything is for all different body types. But the fact that that linen dress is just such a winner every single time, like when I have a sale, when people were coming over to buy dresses, it just takes the show. And I would probably design more like it. And I do know that I'm going to be moving away from having polyester options completely. So in my first launch, there is some value that the material and the fall and all of that has, but I do understand more what my niche as a brand is going to be. And polyester is probably going to be something that I'm going to be moving away from. And I do have some options right now that, if I had to do it over again, I probably wouldn't. And they sell well and they sell nicely, but it's just I'm understanding more on what my brand and what my vision looks like after having put something out there and having received some feedback as well.
Coming up with a 100% linen dress, that's very expensive, to get all of this inventory that is
Yeah,
100% linen.
it is. Yeah.
But when you're the consumer
Yeah.
of the industry that you are
Mhm.
now launching your business in, I
Yeah.
think that gives you such a step up
It
over
does.
everyone else because it's like we needed the linen, like it's super
Yeah.
hot outside. Like when you're wearing full coverage, you need breathable fabrics.
And like I'm my target consumer. Like I am my own target customer. Like I really did make and design dresses that are for myself first and then sharing it with the world. When I was looking for 100% linen dresses, they had deep cut backs and they had slits and they were from places like Banana Republic and Oakenfort and all of the really nice, semi-luxury or luxury brands that are out there, but that doesn't exist in the modest wear space, and if it does, it is like really, 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 really expensive, and it's really hard to it's really hard to reach. But to be till this day, I haven't seen a modest wear brand come up with 100% linen dress. So it is like there is a gap in that market. Premium fabrics are definitely a gap in the market, and I also like find that unique designs are definitely something that our brand like I've never really been someone who follows every single trend. And so a lot of modest wear brands I find will have, a trend that comes up and a lot of them will follow very, very similar designs. So you don't have that much of variation um, in the kind of like stitch styles that you have. So for someone personally who doesn't wear abayas, I would go to like Western wear brands and I was like, I really love this if only it had full sleeves and not the deep neck and not those slits. So being able to like that's something that gives me joy is like being able to design my own dresses that I would love to have been able to wear, but didn't have the option to. And then like really, really focusing on like the fabrics and what they're made up of and how they like how breathable they are. So with a lot of my customers, they'll come and they'll say, this doesn't feel as thin as like, that polyester dress that I just saw. But and then I think that's the point where I start to, share my love of fabrics and what I've learned about them over time is that, polyester is not it doesn't have pores. It's not breathable. It will over time heat you up way more than what something that feels a little bit thicker, like the linen will feel thicker, but it's not see-through. And it has like we'll hold it up to the light, you will see the pores that are there that help, air leave and enter your body, so it's like breathing. Your body can actually breathe and not be like, contained and suffocated in a fabric that doesn't allow that. And these options just really they're really hard to find in the modest wear space. Like even cotton dresses, like there are some brands that will carry cotton dresses, but they're not as readily available. I think synthetics and polyester really dominates the modest wear space.
I want to talk a bit about your day um, as a mom, as a business owner. You have pickup and drop offs every morning, and then you also have a toddler at home, and there's constraints that you have in your day. So,
Yeah.
how do you go about actually structuring your day in a way that you can complete all of those responsibilities, but also not feel burnt out?
Right. So for me, like I need sanity time, like in the evenings. I need to know that there is a structured bedtime. And then so my entire day goes around planning for being able to reach bedtime at the appropriate time. I think I like work in reverse. So if bedtime is 7 p.m. and I want both of my kids to be down in bed by 7, I need to work in reverse in terms of, our morning starts around 6 a.m. Sometimes like today it was 5:30. That's when our morning starts. And like we've got our breakfast routine. I know that I'm going to be, having my son having breakfast. I'm going to take care of my daughter and her change and all of that, and her feeding and all during that time period. While he's at school, I'm managing my daughter, managing the laundry, managing like whatever household tasks need to be done. And each day can look very different. But then once I pick up my son from school, it's like we're going to be working on some of his homework, or we're going to be spending some time together, getting his lunch ready for the rest for the next day, cleaning up his lunchbox. But essentially, working in reverse, that by 7 p.m., I want all of my sort of household tasks mostly to be completed. And there may be some left over, but once my kids are in bed, majority of my tasks are taken care of. And then I have some time that I can dedicate to, self-care, being able to get my workout in, like to be able to I usually work out in the evenings, on the days that I can, being able to just spend some time, some quality time with my spouse. Like it's just, then I have a structured time when I know I will have sanity. That's the way that I survive. And if I'm having a particularly difficult day, I know there is an end in sight, and that's probably going to be 7 p.m. 7 p.m. is where, I know I just got to hold out until then, essentially.
Can we talk a bit about the difficulties? Because I think now, or I'm not sure if it's just because I'm so deep into the mom world, that
Yeah.
I'm always hearing about moms talk about difficulties now, and I
Yeah.
feel so much less alone when I hear about
Yes.
those. Like
Yeah.
when moms tell me that, like they have like one kid like crawling up their leg, and then the other one needs to get to an appointment, and at the
Yeah.
same time you haven't even eaten anything, so it's you're running off of nothing, and you haven't even
Yeah.
slept, and it's just all of these realities as moms that we go through, that
Yeah.
when you're in the moment you're completely alone, but then you
Yeah.
hear about other moms talking about it and you're like, oh, like you go through it too.
Yeah.
Like you feel like you have way too much to manage, then because with social media,
We see the highlights of everyone's
yeah,
life.
it's a highlight reel, and it's like sometimes even when people are sharing the difficulties, it's like the difficulties that they're choosing to share, you know?
Sure.
Yeah. So let's like, I mean, like, what would you say, like to the mom that feels like she's alone and feels
Yeah.
like no, and because, motherhood is very isolating as well, like the mom that's like in the room trying to put her child to sleep, and the child is not sleeping, and she
Yeah.
herself hasn't slept, and she has like her house is a mess, and she has like a running list of things to do, and at the same time she feels like what I'm doing isn't even valuable, like the moms that are going through those thoughts, like what would you
Mhm.
say to yourself, or what would you say to another mom that's kind of going through all of those challenges and they just feel like they're the only one and like no one else can understand this difficulty that they're going through?
That is all very, very real. And there are definitely times when it is overwhelming. Like it really is. And there's really no other way to put it, that it is overwhelming. And you only have two hands and there is so much to do. I think structuring your time is one way to handle it. Another is, surround yourself with people who understand. And don't try to explain to those who, let's say, are not in the thick of parenthood, or who are not compassionate, and who are like, there are some people that you talk to and you feel seen and you feel understood. And sometimes there's the folks that you talk to and you feel even more frustrated after, because you were trying to explain your reality and they just simply don't understand, or they're going to offer you solutions when you really just wanted someone to hear out how difficult things are for you at this point in time. So surround yourself with people who are empathetic, people who are compassionate, people who get it. Find your village in the capacity that sometimes you have people who are able to come over and support you. And if that is not the case, if you are able to, in certain capacities, hiring help, and if that means cleaning help or food help or in whatever area that you feel you require it the most to get by, go for it and do it. Don't try to attain perfection. Even as a mother, there is no such thing as a perfect mom. And a child would much rather have a happy mom than a mom that makes every single meal at home, that has a very perfectly tidy home, than a mom that is, trying to attain like some ideal state, but is so deeply burdened and unhappy. If you need to take breaks, if you need to pause from certain spaces, don't feel apologetic for doing that. Your child needs you to be happy. And the best memories that you have of your parents are when they were happy and they were spending time with you. Like as a child, you don't think that having homemade meals is something that's the most important thing, or having a really pristine home is the most important thing. Your emotions and your mood and all of that is very much dependent on the mood of the household, which is primarily set by the mother, to be very, very honest. So prioritize your happiness, prioritize your mood, seek out the right friends, the right people. Don't isolate yourself to the capacity that you can help it, right? Like, do find the people that you can talk to, and the people that you trust.
Thanks so much for that advice. I really feel like that advice came from someone who's experienced it. It's like everything that you said, I'm like, yeah, that helps. Yeah, that helps. Yeah, that helps. And it's like sometimes you just need to hear it from someone who's experienced it.
Yeah.
To give you the advice.
Yeah.
And I think
as
it's
moms,
also
as moms, we all experience it, right?
Yeah. And I think it's just something that helps me is taking it almost hour by hour.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you need to. And also when you just first enter motherhood, it feels like you feel like that day is basically your new reality for the rest of your life, which is just not the case. Like every part of motherhood comes in phases.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just about, because I definitely had it with my second child, just remembering that, this 4-month sleep progression is a phase. Yeah. And after 6 months, like things start to feel a bit lighter. And then after 8 months, it's even a bit more lighter. And then after a year, it's like there's a bit of that routine that I felt like I needed to have at 5 weeks with my first, like the routine that finally starts to come about at the 1 year mark. Is sometimes like unrealistically is what moms try to pursue at like 2 months, which it's just very unrealistic. And some babies might be great at 2 months, they might have that fully established routine. But just remembering that if your child doesn't have that at 2 months, that it's not your new normal, like everything is just a phase, and your phase for sleeping again will definitely come.
And it can also be bittersweet, right? Like nothing stays the same, and it does change and evolve over time, whether that's the difficult or whether it's the good as well, right? So there's like the newborn snuggles and all of that, that's what you're getting right now. But as they get older, that's going to change. But the sleepless nights may not be there anymore. So it's bittersweet in so many ways. And I do find that different people have different preferences. Like some folks like the newborns and they like the little tiny babies, and some people like the toddlers, and some people like, no, I like my children to be fully grown. So they're like, everyone has their own preferences, but nothing is permanent. And that can be good, and that can also have its own, challenges as a parent as well. Like a child is not going to be small forever, and that can be unsettling at times, right?
Yeah.
The challenges change.
Yeah. And just when the present moment is there, just see it as an actual present, like as a gift. Like see your present moment as the gift that it is. And
That's
just make the most of it, because time is fleeting.
It is.
Okay, and with that, Hera, I'll wrap it up here. Thank you so much for your time, for sharing your experience with us, your journey to starting Enrobe.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a wonderful conversation to have with you. And there's definitely lots that I can take away from our conversation as well.
Alhamdulillah. I wish you and Enrobe all the success in this world and the next.
Thank you so much.
Please join me here every Friday to listen to conversations with authors, academics, psychologists, entrepreneurs, and more. The aim of every conversation is to leave you feeling inspired. If you would like to contact us, please email muslimmindsetpodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, thanks for listening.